We often say that when someone sings beautifully, or paints well, or has some remarkable gift, God gave them a talent. So we naturally read the parable of the talents in Matthew 25 the same way. Don't bury the gift God gave you, develop it. But is that really what Jesus meant? Let's go back to the moment he first spoke these words. Here's something important to understand. In Jesus' day, talent had nothing to do with a personal skill or gift. A talent was a unit of weight. It meant an enormous sum of money, measured in gold or silver. One talent equaled about 6,000 denarii. Since a denarius was a day's wage, one talent was roughly 16 to 20 years of a laborer's earnings. 5 talents was closer to 80 years of wages. So when people heard the word talent, they didn't picture singing or painting. They pictured a master's staggering wealth, and the passage itself is full of the language of money. A master entrusts his property, servants trade with it, one buries it in the ground, and the master rebukes him for not even putting it in the bank to earn interest. The literal meaning of talent is not ability. It's the master's fortune. Today, of course, talent has come to mean a gift or ability, largely because of a long tradition of reading this parable that way. And there's something a little bitter in where that's led us. If you're gifted but can't monetize it, you're often not seen as talented. If you make a lot of money, that alone gets treated as proof of talent. Maybe that says something about how easily our world equates money, talent, and success. But when Jesus told this parable, one thing is certain: a talent was not a gift. It was the master's treasure. So what does that treasure actually represent? This parable sits inside a larger section of Jesus' teaching, Matthew 24 and 25, about his return and the final judgment. The disciples had asked when the end would come. Jesus told them to stay awake. Then 3 scenes follow: the 10 virgins waiting for the bridegroom, the talents, and finally the judgment of the sheep and the goats. So this parable can't suddenly be about personal success or self-improvement. Like the parables around it, it's about the Lord's return and the last judgment. That becomes clear in what happens to the servant who buried his 1 talent. The master says, "Throw this worthless servant into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." That's not a scolding, and it's not a smaller reward in heaven. In Matthew 8, Jesus says, "Many will feast with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom, while others are thrown into outer darkness." In Matthew 22, the man without wedding clothes isn't seated at a lower place. He's thrown completely out of the feast. So this servant isn't losing some points. He's facing the difference between heaven and hell. And that means reading talent as personal ability leads somewhere strange. Does a gifted singer go to hell for never singing? Is a talented painter cast into darkness for never picking up a brush? That can't be right. We're not saved by using our abilities well. We're saved by the grace of Jesus Christ alone. So if talent meant ability, this parable's ending wouldn't make sense. This isn't a story about whether you used your gifts. It's about the final judgment, where true and false servants are divided. So what is the treasure the master entrusts? The key is in Matthew 13, the parable of treasure hidden in a field. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, and a man sells everything he owns to buy that field. Jesus himself tells us the field is the world, and the one who gives up everything to buy the field is Jesus Christ himself. He didn't pay with gold or silver, he paid with his own life. Scripture tells us God purchased the church with his own blood, that Christ gave himself up for the church, and that we were redeemed not with silver or gold, but with the precious blood of Christ. So, the treasure hidden in the field of this world is God's people, the saints, purchased by Jesus with his own life. Now back to Matthew 25. The master who goes away, entrusting his possessions to his servants, represents Jesus Christ, and the most precious thing he entrusts to his servants is the very people he purchased with his blood. So in this parable, the talents are the saints. Even 1 talent was worth 16 to 20 years of labor. In the same way, even a single believer is never small or insignificant before the Lord. Each one is a treasure of immense value, bought with Christ's own life. The faithful servants who received 5 and 2 talents cared for the people entrusted to them so their faith would bear living fruit. They didn't point people to themselves or to money, health, and worldly success. They lifted believers' eyes toward heaven, just as Colossians tells us to set our minds on things above. And Philippians reminds us our citizenship is in heaven, where we await Christ's return. Believers raised up this way go on to share the gospel and bear fruit in others too. That's what it means to multiply the talents. But the servant who received 1 talent buried his master's treasure in the ground. He didn't lose it or steal it, he just kept it hidden. Yet the master calls him wicked and lazy, because the purpose was never for the treasure to stay buried. Some servants do exactly this. Instead of turning people's eyes to heaven, they teach as if money, health, and success were the whole point of faith. They lead people to look at themselves rather than at Jesus, treating the church as their own kingdom rather than the Lord's. But believers don't belong to a pastor, and the church isn't a leader's kingdom. The talent belongs to the master. This servant told his master, "You are a hard man," but the master wasn't stingy. The servant simply never understood how much his master loved his people, or what price he would pay for them. And notice when Jesus told this parable just 2 days before his crucifixion, right before he gave everything to purchase his people. At a moment like that, his final concern couldn't have been, "Go develop your natural talents." His heart was on his people, who would care for them, turn their eyes to heaven, and help them wait for his return, and who would bury them in the ground instead. When the master returned, the servants with 5 and 2 talents received the exact same praise. "Well done, good and faithful servant." The Lord doesn't compare church sizes or compare famous leaders to unknown ones. He looks at whether his people were cared for according to his will, whether they were led to look at Jesus, not at success in this world. This parable isn't about talent in the way we usually think. It's about true and false servants, heaven and hell, and the Lord entrusting the people he bought with his blood into our hands. So when the Lord returns, his question won't be, "How well did you develop your gift?" It will be, "What did you do with the people I purchased with my own blood? Did you bury them in the ground, or did you lift their eyes to heaven?" May we all be able to hear these words from him. "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master."